Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having a great day. A lot to discuss, and without further ado, let's jump right into it. Engineers and developers are continuously working to provide Bitcoin with technological improvements. Now, most likely the next Bitcoin technological breakthrough will come through the Schnorr Taproot soft fork. According to Bitcoin contributor Steve Lee, the soft fork proposal offers a whole new world of possibilities. For those of you who are not looking at the screen, the main parts of it will be scaling, fungibility, and script innovation. Specifically, the proposal promises to provide Bitcoin with greater scalability for multi-signature applications or complex smart contracts that may have several different ways to spend the cryptocurrency. The Schnorr algorithm provides a simple way of structuring crypto signatures. Therefore, it can significantly enhance the efficiency of validating Bitcoin transactions. According to Lee, Schnorr signatures are 11% smaller than existing methods. Additionally, the Schnorr signatures are compatible with existing private keys. Thus, with this proposal, most limitations regarding the number of scripts that can be used to spend digital coins disappear. The other, and I guess the most fascinating part for me, the part about the multi-signatures and upgrading, if you will, the smart contract aspect has been a discussion for quite a long amount of time. For those of you who don't know, it takes a very long time, or rather there are many discussions when it comes to actually updating Bitcoin, the #1 coin. This is because through many discussions, because for a while I was also quite aggravated as to why it took so long to update Bitcoin when many other coins were having 5, 6, 7 upgrades during a year. Bitcoin is worth a lot, for those of you who did not know that, and the idea is that if Bitcoin continues on its same path, it has a very high chance of becoming not only a worldwide currency like it already is, but continuing to try and take the #2 and #1 position as far as the strongest currency on this planet. And if you're updating things continuously over and over and somebody makes a mistake and at some point Bitcoin freezes or Bitcoin doesn't work or Bitcoin is having some type of problem, well, then the entire monetary system also collapses with it. So every single proposal, every single thing that has been initiated or activated on Bitcoin thus far, especially over the last couple of years, has taken a lot of work, a lot of discussions. And now one of the things that they're proposing to do, or rather also as well, in 2017, 2018, the discussion started to surround the cryptocurrency space as far as smart contracts, things that could execute themselves or activate when certain things were initiated, activated. When something was achieved on a certain date, you are to be paid out this amount of money from your grandmother because of so and so and so, and this is done through a smart contract. The idea is, once again, in the future, that we won't have a need for lawyers, accountants, etc., anything that deals with things that can be automatically done by a computer. And therefore, this is why we saw a couple of years ago many other cryptocurrency projects. You may have also realized that there's like a bit of a lull period with them not really talking about these features as much anymore, because a lot of it has kind of not been blown to the wind. The point being, Bitcoin is also capable of doing this. It is a computer system, program, whatever, the same as all the other coins. And these proposals have been around for a while, but it looks like they may be activated relatively soon. Besides, the most important part for me, at least, and how I deal with cryptocurrencies, it says, besides, this proposal will improve privacy by ensuring proper fungibility. In this regard, Lee underscores, with Taproot, all outputs for spending look identical. Taproot is a scheme for signing transaction scripts. Taproot enhances fungibility, according to Keto U of CoinMonks. Okay. They said, and I do quote, Taproot's most functionable role is to homogenize, in a content perspective, the transaction output based of whatever pay to pub key or pay to script hash P2SH the result will be. For the details of the Bitcoin transaction output, difficult to distinguish by outsiders. To put it simpler, Taproot actually works to make Bitcoin transactions look exactly the same on the Blockchain Explorer and impossible to tell each from one another, which naturally guarantees Bitcoin with considerable, very good privacy, end quote. For those of you who have no idea what I was just talking about, whenever a Bitcoin transaction happens on the network, something that happens called the UTXO is there. It's an unspent transaction output. So every single, I think I mentioned this before in about a video or two, but I guess it's now more significant as we're talking about the actual soft fork of Taproot on the Bitcoin network. What ends up happening is that every single time that a transaction happens, they're kind of lumped together. So the first transaction as a coin is minted or comes out of the system, has a certain, this thing happened on the network. When you send it to someone else, it shows that it was sent from your address in the simplest way. It shows that it was sent from your address to another address. By the time the second person gets it and they decide to send it to a third person, the lump of the first and second are also still lumped together with the third one. And this is how government agencies are able to track transactions, because the entire transaction history is still there. And if at some point they can figure out or go through a system and say, well, we found this address, it did something wrong, air quotes, and or incorrect or something illegal, and we see that this exact same transaction output was put into that original signature or for that coin, therefore something is wrong with that Bitcoin. So the object is to make sure that people who are on the outside looking in see every single Bitcoin transaction as exactly the same. We were also talking, we were talking about this yesterday, as far as dirty coins, air quote. And a lot of people, the reason why a lot of people are also using over-the-counter buying is because they want clean coins. They want coins that don't have these dirty, air quotes, transaction outputs from previous coins that could have been associated with crime, so on and so forth. So the idea, a lot of the things that they're trying to propose for Bitcoin have to do with making sure that all transactions look the same, or at least to outsiders, if you will. And eventually, other proposals have also dealt with like sharding, breaking up the transactions, putting them all back together, or like coin mixing type things where things have to hit something in the system, all the coins get mixed up and then continue. Like, as long as you're sending the exact same amount as someone else through the system, you'll get the exact same amount, or rather person you're trying to send it to will get the exact same amount, but it won't be from you. It'll have been from somewhere else, and therefore no one will be able to tell exactly where these transactions are coming from. It's incredibly fascinating. If you actually have the time to, it's not the most exciting thing. I think it is for me, because I've mentioned before, and other people have asked me why I did this. I personally believe that only a number of coins are going to make it in the future. I don't see a future. I don't know which coin is there right now, but I don't see a future for coin number 47, number 42, number 118. I firmly believe if we've gotten this far with all this attention backing Bitcoin, that Bitcoin is probably most likely logically going to make it more than a number of other coins that we have out there. On top of that, I don't really care for coins that have private transactions in my portfolio. Why? Because a lot of them have been torn down, have been mentioned specifically by government leaders, and they don't like them, and they don't want them, and they don't so and so and so. And a lot of these coins have actually been banned in a number of countries. Bitcoin, however, has not been banned. And I guess the most logical way to kind of put it, so we can kind of, move on from the topic, is that as Bitcoin is decentralized, Bitcoin continues to grow every single year, even in countries where it has already been banned. What's going to happen eventually is, as Bitcoin continuously becomes and grows stronger as a world currency, it's currently the 8th largest world currency in the world. By the time Bitcoin goes over 100,000 and has a $2 trillion market cap, it will no longer matter what governments really care to say or think about it, simply because Bitcoin will be the word at that point. So any type of upgrades on top of it that allow for private transactions can't be and won't be stopped because of the strength and growth and resilience of the network, which we were also talking about a couple years before. For those of you who were not here, a very fascinating discussion is that a couple of years ago, there were a number of developers who actually came forward and said, during the first couple of years of Bitcoin being around, they were actually terrified. Why were they terrified? Because they realized that Bitcoin not being worth as much in the network, not being as robust and as many miners that we have on the network right now, that if governments had wanted to, around 2012, 2013, they could have spent a couple $1 billion and completely dismantled the entire Bitcoin network. And now it's almost nothing is impossible. However, you need countries and countries worth of money to be able to kind of pull something like that off. The most important part being, this proposal has already been in the ecosystem feedback phase of the Bitcoin consensus upgrade lifecycle. Lee estimates that the Schnorr Taproot soft fork proposal would be ready to pass into the adoption phase in spring of 2020. This is also tying directly into the same exact time where Bitcoin's reward is going to be cut in half. This is why, and just once again to kind of finish things off, while Bitcoin may be slow right now, other coins, other projects are just mimics of what Bitcoin is. And Bitcoin, like the rest of them, can also be upgraded and will be upgraded. A lot of people like to point out the fact that Bitcoin, the main chain, is very slow. It's a computer. It can be upgraded. It's going to be upgraded. We already have multiple other chains and side chains and other layers on top of Bitcoin. And these are only going to continue, especially as more of them become more widely adopted. But the main chain has to remain secure. Keeping in mind, once again, when Bitcoin hits 100,000 and is a $2 trillion market cap item coin system, you can't just activate anything that you kind of want onto it. It has to remain robust. It has to remain strong. And at the moment, keeping the core, that makes sense, the way that it is the most logical. I know a lot of people are already typing in the comment section. This is a huge discussion that we're not going to get into. I'm just explaining why Bitcoin, the number one coin, is the way that it is for those of you who are wondering. Anyway, I'm excited for this. It takes years for any proposals to actually go through for any type of upgrade on Bitcoin. I believe the last one we had was, oh gosh, what's that thing called? SegWit, segregated witness. Anyway, let's move on. Next up, social media mentions of altcoin season were fewer and far between in the past weeks. After several crashes almost erased the gains made in 2019, altcoins gave way to growing Bitcoin maximalism as the leading coin outperformed most smaller assets. Research by The Tie shows that mentions of altcoin season on social media dropped like a rock in October. There's the chart right there. There are a number of companies, and usually people sometimes they use like Google Trends to like type in a word to see exactly how popular that word is. And we've seen before that in the past, there's a huge correlation between Bitcoin's price going up with the amount of people who are Googling Bitcoin and or the letters BTC. And also whenever we see sentiment dropping, it's usually because no one's typing in Bitcoin or BTC and the chart goes down. However, now they're doing it for the word or term altcoin season. The loss of hope worsened after Bitcoin tanked under 8,000 during the start of October. But there are altcoins that break the trend and some that remain encouragingly stable. On some days, altcoins even managed to rally throughout without inspiring too much hope. An altcoin season usually pushes down the dominance of Bitcoin, and altcoins make gains in Satoshi's terms. But the markets have evolved in the past year, with some altcoins gaining direct market against dollar-pegged coins. As stablecoins flow into altcoin, this is not really that important. The issue is that we have right now is that at the end of last year, it was a very huge discussion. You can find things on Twitter. People were constantly typing in when altcoin season, when altcoin moon. Depending on where you look, you can find a lot of these things. It was believed that in the beginning of 2019, that the altcoins would finally have their time as the market continuously had moved down during the course of 2018. By the time we were around February, a lot of discussion was it was when altcoin spring. And that was, I'm pretty sure a lot of you remember that as well. And it was widely believed that as Bitcoin had started to move up, I think Bitcoin was around 3,200 and then it moved up to around like 5,000, somewhere around there, that as Bitcoin was posting huge gains in what we had seen before in 2017 and behind that, 2016, 2015, that every single time that Bitcoin had gone up, that altcoins had also moved up in tandem as we were in the midst of the actual spring, the, almost said the holiday, the season. Prices kind of remained the same for altcoins. They moved up a little tiny bit. Bitcoin was then nearing around $7,000-8,000, and everyone was like, okay, altcoin spring is now it's going to be altcoin summer. You all know summer has passed, and as we near the end of this year, isn't that completely insane? It's almost mid-October. We are almost near 2020. Time is going a bit too fast. A lot of people are still asking, when is altcoin season going to begin? So, since you're all here, and I'm going to talk as honestly with you as possible, for those of you who were not here during 2015, 16, and 17, there was a huge consensus that at some point Bitcoin's price would become stable. Why would it become stable? Thousands of things people were talking about, the amount of people in the market, the price of Bitcoin, the stop of random fluctuations. A lot of that has kind of come true. We don't see the same exact 25% up and downs that we used to before. The idea was that as Bitcoin became more stable and was seen more throughout the world as a store of value, which Bitcoin kind of is, I think mostly amongst cryptocurrency users. But as people begin to see Bitcoin as more of an asset to invest in, as something that they could make money off of, that more people would start putting their money into the network, and therefore Bitcoin itself would become stronger against other coins. There was also the discussion that we had last year amongst Bitcoin maximalists who had like exploded onto the scene, talking about other coins, SHIT coins, as they call them, referring to pretty much anything that was not Bitcoin. The entire idea has been for quite a long amount of time, and that's not to say that this will or won't happen, but that Bitcoin will become so big that it'll simply start to absorb all the other coins. And this is kind of what the beginning of what we've seen during the most part of 2019. Altcoins have rallied. However, Bitcoin has done incredibly well over the course of 2019. And the further idea is that, as many analysts had said at the beginning of this year, a lot of people didn't want to, refuse to believe it, is that once we end up getting to the point where Bitcoin becomes even more popular and people start realizing what the halving is, i.e., I believe it's next May 2020 when Bitcoin's mining reward will be cut in half, that it's at some point going to make the news. If we have normal news on CNBC, ABC, Fox News, financial news about what's happening with Bitcoin, then one can only assume if Bitcoin's price is moving upward continuously or passes by 10, 15,000 once again, especially as we're nearing the reward getting cut in half, that this will also cause a lot of hype. Part of the issue is, you might have noticed, I've also definitely noticed as I go through the news every single day, altcoins have not only not been performing well, but a lot of the news that we used to get, especially during the time of 2017, is all but gone. There are very few, very few cryptocurrency projects that end up getting news anymore. And if they do get news, it's usually there's a hard fork that no one asked for. This is going to be implemented. We have a partnership with some guy who makes shoelaces. It's always something very odd. But there are, I'm not going to name any coins. You should know, if you've been watching this channel for the last month, you should know exactly which coins you should be paying attention to, because they're the ones that are always in the news. It's not a lot of coins either. The idea, I guess, to finish this off, if you will, if we do, remember, and I said in 2017 and 18, I said we don't need 2,000 coins in the market. A lot of coins, especially we were talking about ICOs, how they've all but poofed. And there were a number of other, I think we've lost several hundred, if not over 1,000 other coins as the cryptocurrency prices have been going down during 2018. And even, I guess, more so as they've been trending sideways during 2019. A lot of these coins, a lot of them are not needed. We won't need them. You won't be using them. It might be wise if you try to look at your portfolio and realize that you should not be holding certain coins, because these coins are going to continue to disappear. And a lot of that money is going to be pushed into Bitcoin. So the entire thing is that a lot of people are waiting to see if there's going to be an altcoin season sometime this year. I think we will see some type of a movement upward, but the idea of altcoin season in its entirety is that the coins will outperform Bitcoin and go up by 15 to 20% over the course of several weeks. I think we are well beyond that. Unless Bitcoin does some type of a crazy movement over the next couple of weeks and passes by $20,000 and it causes a huge amount of hype in the market, I don't assume that altcoins are going to, especially not a lot of the ones that you should not be holding in the first place, like the ones that we talk about on usually at the end of the video, that have around a $2 million daily trading volume. Anyway, we'll see how this actually ends up going on. Here's the actual TAI, or rather the TAI website. They have a whole bunch of metrics, the sentiment for the market, the price changes in the market, and the 50-day simple moving average. They have a whole lot of stuff. I'm not going to click through the entire website. You also have to create an account, which is just not going to happen. Anyway, yeah, let's move on. Also, another discussion. This is it's very, I find the news fascinating because there's always a bit of a mimic at the beginning and towards the ending of the year. The Wyckoff, the Wyckoff chart and other key indicators suggest that crypto investors are accumulating Bitcoin, even if it retains a bearish bias. Bitcoin closed the week with a sell-off, pushing price below 8,000. And printing a close down 2.5% for the week as a whole. Despite an ominous close to the bottom of the trading range, Bitcoin has rebounded higher this morning alongside other cryptocurrencies, with notable gainers XRP and Link breaking 10% gains for the day. It says it's somewhere around here. A lot of people, and pay attention to this as well, have been accumulating Bitcoin as prices have been going down. A lot of people, and I shed a tear, because people within the cryptocurrency space are usually the ones who end up missing out. A lot of people keep waiting, and I guess it's just maybe like more of a psychological thing. A lot of people continuously wait to see if Bitcoin is going to go down further, and then when Bitcoin doesn't go down further and goes up, people start to buy, and then when the price goes up even further, people start to sell, thinking that the price isn't. It's always this very weird psychological thing. I think a lot of people are trying to match what traders are doing, and it doesn't usually end up working out. This is why I said before, if you plan on trading, please know what you're doing. Bitcoin is being accumulated in mass. It's actually kind of odd how quickly that it's actually happening. Anyway, this is mainly, I mean, it's just so much to cover. It's not even like I try not to. I mean, I know a lot of people don't mind if I kind of ramble on, if you will, but I always feel like I'm like, oh gosh, I got to get it done just so I can kind of pass on the information. But Bitcoin thus far this year, this article is from April. It says Bitcoin already outperforming NASDAQ, S&P 500, and gold in 2019. And that was before Bitcoin had even really risen. This one is from a couple days ago. It says Bitcoin is 2019's best performing asset even after recent price downturn. It's heavily believed that the moves up that we are seeing actually in the market right now, any move up, any significant move up in Bitcoin, is because that people who are still trying to buy through cryptocurrency exchanges that is not enough Bitcoin. That's kind of the easiest way of putting it. And where's the other article? I could have sworn that I had it's somewhere else in the video, and I think I placed it incorrectly. The point being is that we know that people are accumulating, and that's kind of one of the more interesting parts, is that other people, someone wrote it on Twitter the other day as well. They were like, does it really matter if you bought Bitcoin at 8,000 or 7,950 when Bitcoin hits 100,000? Will you still, hit yourself and go, oh gosh, I wish that I had bought at this price? By the time Bitcoin hits 55,000, I don't think anyone's going to really care if they bought at 7,200 or 6,800. You may have accumulated a few more Satoshis. However, your wallet's not going to be sad. Anyway, let's move on. Something that I feel like we shouldn't have been too surprised at. The UK's Financial Conduct Authority, or the FCA, has been relentlessly scrutinizing cryptocurrency startups, and investigations are up 74% from last year. Meanwhile, advocates of decentralized software development models and open collaborations are upset about the FCA aiming to extend Know Your Customer anti-money laundering regulations to the publication of open source and zero-knowledge software. The Financial Conduct Authority in the UK has been ramping up regulations towards digital currency operations based in the region. It started escalating last year with a few eminent UK-based wealth management firms asked the FCA to add strict regulatory policy toward digital companies. At the time, Simon Miller, Scalable Capital CEO, showed his dislike for the crypto industry. He said, people see the explosion of digital currencies and say, I can make a lot of money quickly, but that's not investing, that's gambling. It needs to be looked at. To be fair, putting your money in Google, Apple, Amazon is also gambling. You don't know the future of these companies or what kind of scandal they could go through. All investing at its heart is some type of gambling. It might be light gambling, but it's still a gamble. Now, reports show that the FCA have increased its investigation into digital currency operations by 74% and is currently investigating 87 crypto startups this year. Last year, the percentage of investigations was lower, but the ICO phase was still in full swing. Where's the other really important part? Maybe this is it. The latest news comes from the FCA's investigations follows the regulator's recent guidance on crypto assets. Report published in the summer, the FCA's research feedback and final guidance statement show the regulator isn't too keen on digital currency operations. In the report, the FCA proposes extending Know Your Customer anti-money laundering and CTF anti-money rules to crypto companies residing in the UK. The regulations would mandate companies like exchanges, wallet operators, and token issuers to collect user information. The combination of market immaturity, volatility, and a lack of credible information or oversight raises concerns about market integrity, manipulation, and insider dealing with crypto markets. This may prevent the market from functioning effectively and damage its reputation. What they're trying to do essentially is make sure, in the most worrying way, whenever something is open source, it's for everyone. You know, you can. This is kind of the discussion why I think Facebook is trying to gain the positive attention of people within the cryptocurrency space, because they said that they planned on making the Calibra wallet for the Libra tokens open source, i.e. it's going to be on the internet, and anybody who wants to use it can also create their own wallet that would be similar, and it would be accessible for Libra, and you can add on Bitcoin, you can do all this other stuff. Governments don't like that. Governments don't like anything that's open source or anything that could potentially not fall within their power and or their jurisdiction. So what they're proposing is that pretty much any time, any wallet that you have on your phone, on your computer, on your anything that you use to store, buy, sell, trade, hold cryptocurrency, the companies who created that would have to gather your information to be able to give it to the government. Why? They say it is for your protection, or to make sure that you're not doing stuff with your money that you should not be doing, which doesn't really make a lot of sense. I will repeat what I said before, and I'm glad that there are certain countries out there who have taken notice. Tipping my hat to you, Portugal. Countries that are going to do very well in the future are those that are not aggressive to the cryptocurrency space. I still think, and rather I know at this point, that people for some reason assume that people can't just pick up their laptops and go to another country. That for some reason that a business has to be planted firmly with roots in a certain country, and therefore nothing else can go around it. Anyone who acts aggressively towards the cryptocurrency space will logically probably not do well within the future. Can you imagine being a country that is friendly to a multi-trillion-dollar industry where you say, come over here, you have no taxes on anything that you do. Please feel free to spend your digital money and buy up as much real estate and land as you want as possible. Make as many businesses as you want. You will not be taxed on any capital gains from selling your cryptocurrencies. Imagine a couple miles away, someone else is like, yeah, everything you do, we need to know about it. Everything you buy, everything you sell, hold, or trade. If you want to buy a cup of coffee, you're going to be taxed on that. And if you don't tell us that you bought that cup of coffee with your digital money, you're going to be in trouble. I hope, but I know it won't happen, that in the future that countries kind of get it together. I assume we are, I was going to say on the last legs, but I know we have many more legs to go of people being afraid of cryptocurrencies. We are in a time in history, that's a nice way of saying it, right now, where years ago somebody created a digital currency, and now that digital currency is a worldwide currency, and countries around the world can't figure out how to control it, and it bothers them. So they try to find the next best thing. And this is why we saw during the course of 2018 that so many cryptocurrency companies and exchanges were scrutinized and or had to close down because of regulations, because they're trying to figure out how to put a stop, a hamper, slow it down, the growth of the cryptocurrency market. And what's going to end up happening is I'm expecting fully 38 bajillion%. I'm expecting madness over the next 5 years. When Bitcoin starts to reach past $250,000 and can overtake the US dollar, and Bitcoin has private transactions on top of it, I think we're going to see a digital war unlike anything that we've ever, ever witnessed in our life. Bitcoin already, you may have noticed, 2017, 16, 15, 14, every single time that there was a government agency that came forward talking about digital currencies, it was always what they say. Crypto's not a threat. We don't think it's going to be a threat. I bet you a $5 trillion network is definitely going to be a threat to someone out there. I guess I'm tired of rambling about this. It's just very, I'm really glad that there are certain countries who have done well, who understand where this is going to go, and have kind of opened their borders, if you will. Who was the other country? Was it Estonia, who has like the e-residency? Intelligent, great, like really, like absolutely great. But there still is, and there will be an even greater power struggle within the next couple of years. You have to, just think logically. Why would I want to do business in your country when you're investigating every single company, startup, anything that has to do with cryptocurrencies, when I could get on a plane for an hour and go somewhere else and not be scrutinized, and also be able to grow the ecosystem more? Like, imagine a government being like, we don't understand it. It scares us. Teach us. Let us know exactly what's going on, how different the world would be, but fear usually wins. Anyway, let's move on. This is all going to be lumped together. It's more of a, I guess it's happening kind of news. The Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, or the EEA, the consortium charged with creating standards for businesses to build applications using the Ethereum blockchain, has created a system of reward tokens to incentivize groups of companies. The system is backed by Microsoft and Intel. Showcased Tuesday at DevCon 5, the annual Ethereum Developers Conference being held in Osaka. The so-called Trusted Reward Token is a way of accruing and accumulating rewards for active participation in a consortium. Michael Reed, who manages the blockchain program within Intel Software and Solutions Group, explained that there are 3 types of tokens used to motivate participation: a reward token, a rep token, and a penalty token. That sounds a little weird. He told CoinDesk, it really can be applied to any consortium to incentivize teamwork. The example we are using is a software development consortium like the EEA. While we are trying to motivate activities like editing and contributing to specifications, developing and adding code, then of course, you could apply penalties for negatives such as lack of contribution, lack of review, missing deadlines, and so on. That sounds a little dystopian to me. I'm not going to even lie. The point being, as I said, the last couple of things are kind of all lumped together. The Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, for those of you who don't know, is pretty much, it's about 300 companies at this point. It's JP Morgan Chase, it's Microsoft, it's Intel, it's tons of names that you know. I think Santander Bank is also one of them. These are companies and banks and institutions who have come together 2 or 3 years ago and pretty much said, yep, we're going to use Ethereum. We're going to build on top of it. We're going to make sure that it's used. We're going to so-and-so. We're going to integrate it into our systems. And it's one of the main reasons why I, despite the slowdown of updates for Ethereum, remain incredibly bullish on Ethereum. I have a strange feeling 300 multi-million, if not multi-billion-dollar companies backing a blockchain should ring a lot of good bells for people in their head. The point being is that they keep creating tokens and they keep putting them on top of Ethereum, but this one for some reason is a little odd. The point being is that it's built on top of Ethereum, as the EEA, the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, has seemingly ramped up their efforts this year as far as gathering new companies and also making new initiatives to make sure that Ethereum is going to be used. On top of that as well, I think the timing is just kind of perfect, dare I say, because of the information that we have that Ethereum is supposed to have at least one upgrade by the end of this year, and then multiple other upgrades by, I think, within the first couple of months of next year. So by summer of next year, we are supposed to have the beginnings of Ethereum 2.0 as far as staking, the proof of stake, proof of work, hybrid. And there was also something else. I think Casper is also going to be initiated. We haven't heard a lot about Plasma, but what have you. Also tying into the Ethereum news, the NBA's Sacramento Kings are the first U.S. professional sports team to develop a crypto token for fan rewards. They said fans can get those points and put them in their wallets and experience it all on the blockchain platform. It'll be called the Kings token. It will pair with predictive gaming platform the team has developed in anticipation of the legalization of sports betting in California. The other important part is that it's an ERC20 token, and once again, it's on Ethereum. And this is what I pay attention, because that's not like an order, but it's more like Ethereum's in the news almost every single day. And if it's not in the news on one day, the next day there's about 5 Ethereum news stories. And it's all about rich people pretty much building on top of Ethereum. That's kind of the end point for it. The other story tying directly into this as well. John McAfee has launched his decentralized exchange called McAfeeDex.com after a day of teasers and shilling on Twitter. Here we go. McAfee Dex will initially launch with support only for Ethereum-based tokens. The Ethereum, once again, meaning the revolutionary exchange will be another alternative to the likes of IDEX, Ether Delta, and other decentralized non-custodial markets. I think it's only going to support ERC20 tokens and is also, once again, built on top of Ethereum. Just a little, I want to say word of caution. Before in the past, this is just history, things that John McAfee has created have been attacked. He's not the most well-liked person in the cryptocurrency space. And he had a number of ventures in 2018 and the beginning of this year. And I believe, from what I remember reading, is that they were hacked. They had DDoS attacks, and they were kind of, people don't like them. So it's great. I love decentralized exchanges. I love the idea of them, and I love the execution of them. However, if you plan on using this one, just be aware that before in the past, the things that have had his name associated with them have at some point been attacked, and I don't want anyone using it, and then their coins are attacked, and then they end up losing money. The main point of this story was that it's yet another application that's being built on top of Ethereum, and at this point, it's kind of numerous how many that there actually are. The thing that I meant to put over here, which I was talking about earlier, not going to even read through it. Just going to read the title. It says, CEO of under fire Brazilian firm owns 25,000 Bitcoin. The point of it is that we were talking about the actual accumulation of Bitcoin. And one of my other favorite things, if you're relatively new to the channel, is I love hearing about how much Bitcoin that someone has. And I mean, not because I'm like nosy or like, oh, I love Bitcoin. It's more like I like to do the numbers. I write numbers down. I know I'm weird. I like to see exactly how much Bitcoin is actually owned by millionaires. And the news usually trickles down maybe every 3 weeks, maybe every month. We'll get an indication of some rich person who has tons of Bitcoin. Apparently he had to file like a tax return or something like that. And apparently he has 25,000 Bitcoin, $209 million as of press time. The entire point being is that if you add up all the numbers that we keep getting and you just do logical math for the companies who are, especially even just Bitmain, the companies who are mining Bitcoin and how much Bitcoin they're accumulating, I want to be proven right, but I also want people to also take advantage of this as well. There's not a lot of Bitcoin out there. We keep getting news all the time. There's another new company who has 170. You know how much money this person has probably been throwing into Bitcoin over the last couple of years? You know how long it takes to accumulate 25,000 Bitcoin? People are accumulating Bitcoin in mass, and so many people, even within the cryptocurrency space, don't get it. I keep seeing people, really, who are like, yeah, Bitcoin's going down to 4,000, so I'll just accumulate then. And I'm like, do you think you sound smart? Like, what is the logic behind you doing that? Like, and I've advised many other friends as well, just keep on accumulating. Now listen, a couple of months ago, I was with friends having dinner, and my friend's boyfriend was sitting next to me. No, friend's boyfriend's cousin, someone who was visiting from somewhere, and we were talking about cryptocurrencies, and he was like, oh my gosh, that's completely crazy. You know, I've been wanting to get into. We had like a whole hour-long conversation, and he was like, man, should I buy a Bitcoin? And I was like, I had the whole conversation with him. I was like, listen, if you can afford it, I was like, tomorrow Bitcoin's going to go down to zero. Does that terrify you? He's like, yeah, kind of. I was like, well, listen, you know, having the whole talk, if you're afraid of losing this money, don't do it. I think he bought around when Bitcoin was just around 3,300. And I can only imagine, hopefully, the euphoria on his face as Bitcoin passed by $10,000. Like, I'm rambling on once again. Is it lack of sleep? Not enough sleep. I think I'm just hungry again. Anyway, That's the someone else owns 25,000 Bitcoin news. I always find this rather fascinating. As always, a very special thank you to my Patreon supporters: Professor Wally from Gunbot University, Todd Mullis, Adam Graysick, Mohair Maroney, Master Ventures in Thailand, Brady Niels, Woody and Daisy, Triple M and J, Jared Schneider, Wise Night Owl, 242 to the World, Crypto Joe, Bankroad Network, Adobo, Mill Louise, Mechanic, Strange Radio Central, Crypto Artist, Cold D3D, Cryptopolis, Nicholas for North, One Piece, One Love, Damian Setsuna, Nick Kanaya, Richie Rich III, Vlad the Impaler, Crypto Beer Shipmate, Paxis, Nick Mangialavori, Anthony Charles, Jim Garner, Jeremy Fox, Minting Coins, Miller hits chest every day, and Kyle skips leg day. Yes to crypto. And Bodie McBoatface. Thank you all very, very much for your support. At the moment, the market is still, and you guess it, still not making much sense. A lot of coins are, few coins are in green. A lot of coins are red Satoshi-wise. We've seen before that this is an indication that people are obviously buying into Bitcoin. Altcoins are not faring as well. A lot of bullish sentiment surrounding the market because Bitcoin bounced off of the $7,700 support levels just about a day and a half ago and sprang up over 8,100, which is apparently a very good indication that the bulls, air quote, are still at play and that people aren't really paying attention to much negative moves downward. What I'm waiting to see, and I think it should have happened a little while ago, especially with the amount of attention that we've seen surrounding it, is that Ethereum, I think, should be over $200 at this point. I can only assume as well. We talk a lot about the Bitcoin price suppression, which I mean it's far too obvious at this point, and a lot of the reason why it's happening is that because, here we go, because we don't actually have a lot of the regulation and stuff like that within the cryptocurrency space. There is no real insider trading laws and stuff like that as far as the cryptocurrency space. So I can only imagine the discussions that are going on behind the scenes of how to accumulate more of these assets. And I guess even more so logically, if you think about it, the amount of attention that Ethereum has, I'm sure people are also accumulating that in mass as well. Nothing really significant. Nothing's really up. I mean, nothing's really up more than or down 5%. 0x, sure. Once again, the discussion, $18 million, 24-hour trading volume. That can be done by one person. And nothing of significance in my eyes, doing any crazy movements. I hope you all enjoyed. Hope that you're all excited for the future of Bitcoin. I know a lot of people may not find upgrades that exciting, but imagine a world where you can do with your money as you wish, when you please, all the time. Just imagine a world where Bitcoin goes over 1 million and no one can stop your transactions. It's kind of nice. Hope you all enjoyed. Hope you all are having a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening, wherever you are. Wherever you might be, I do hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all, every single one of you, once again for watching and or listening. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.